let's hear some behind-the-scenes stories from Debbie Denham, also known as Candy Clark, and anything you can recall. Maybe some of the, well, just do whatever you want to do, but if not, we'll have some good questions for you.
The sound guy. Anyway, well, I almost didn't get the part because when I had found out about American Graffiti, I thought it took place in the 50s. And at that point in my career, I had just started. It had been a year since I had any acting job, so I was really desperate. And I thought, well, I'll do the unthinkable. I'll go as the character. And that's really not very cool to dress as a character to go on an audition. And so, except for commercial auditions. So I get there, I'm sitting in the lobby, there's other actors there, and I'm the only one dressed in the 1950s. And I have on this Letterman sweater with I got a high school ring on a chain, and I have my jeans rolled up and a pair of saddle Oxfords, and I feel so embarrassed. And I had no script, there was no sides, it was just a general look-see and meet the director. So I'm already humiliated sitting in the lobby, and finally it's my turn to go in. And we're in a tiny, tiny, tiny little office, and the desk almost takes up all the room, and there's George Lucas. And I'm standing there, he's sitting, he's staring, I'm staring back. And anyone that knows George knows that he's very quiet, and he doesn't say much. So it was the most horrible, awkward meeting, and I left, and I called my manager and told her that I blew it. And, you know, what else is new? So a few weeks later, I had managed to get a hold of a script, and I found out that it was not in the 50s, it was in the 60s, and I begged my manager, please, please, get me back in. And she said, well, once they see you and you don't get a good response, then they don't want to see you again. So I just begged and begged and begged, and somehow I got myself another appointment. And this time I went back in, I was dressed as myself, and George acted like he'd never met me before, which was great. So, you know, I was kind of chatty, and I had on, you know, ordinary dress. And next thing I knew, I was being called in for a screen test. And it was a cattle call of a screen test. They had everybody there. Everyone was trying out for this part. And it was over at Dove Films, which was Haskell's commercial shooting place down on Seward Street. And so I was all intimidated. And then I meet Toad, Charles Martin Smith, who's Toad, and he already has the part. And I think, well, I'm too tall, he's short, and they always want the, you know, the actresses to be shorter than the guy, you know. And so I've already lost the part, you know, just the actor's doubts that just sabotage you. But anyway, we had this scene where he picks me up and he tells me I look like Connie Stevens, and I say, well, I thought I looked like Sandra Dee. Well, you do, you kind of look like her too. And it was just a park bench, and that was supposed to be the car, and nobody's in costume. We're just looking at Charlie, and we're doing this scene, and I'm trying to be as casually, say the lines as casually without much, you know, gusto. I kind of lost my gusto because I knew I wasn't going to get it, so I was just kind of like throwing it away, really. And George had a little pink video camera, a little plastic, it was an early video camera, it was pink plastic, I'll always remember, real chintzy and cheap. And we film it, and thank you, Charlie, and I left. Next thing I knew, I like got the part, I couldn't even believe it. I was just like, how did this happen? And years later, I asked George, hey, whatever happened to that screen test? I sure would like to see it. And he said, well, it just came out black. I'm like, well, how did you hire me? Why did you hire me? Well, I just liked what I saw through the viewfinder. So I got the part, and it was just a blast. It was a lot of hard work. It was freezing that summer in Petaluma. And I had picked Oh, Charlie and I drove up to San Francisco in my Volkswagen, and we left LA like at 4 in the morning, broke down in Santa Barbara at 5 in the morning. My car blew up, and we tried to find a repair because we were supposed to be in San Francisco to do wardrobe and everything. And I found some man, I don't know how, who had a garage in his a garage at his house, in his garage, and so he repaired my Volkswagen. I remember seeing Charlie sleeping on the sidewalk. It was a total disaster. We finally get up to San Francisco. It is like midnight, and they said, well, you're really late, and we have to do wardrobe now. And I'm like, no, we're so tired. But anyway, I had 3 dresses to pick from. I tried them all on. The blue and white striped dress was from the secondhand store. Tried that on, it fit, it didn't need any alteration. Okay, and then luckily for me, I said, oh, that little white sweater then we'll put a sweater guard and clamp that on. Luckily I had that sweater, or else I would have just froze, because Petaluma was freezing that summer, and the fog was rolling in all the time. A lot of times you could see your breath when you were talking. Remember how cold it was? It was just freezing. We had no shelter, no place to sit, unless you want to just sit on the curb or sit in wardrobe or whatever. And in between takes, we're trying to be relaxed, like, hey, hot summer evening, smoking our cigarettes. But what you really want to do is like, oh! And we're shooting all night. It was very, very hard. And I remember Haskell was flying down to Los Angeles in the day, in the morning, and working at his Dove Films, right? And shooting commercials, and then he'd fly up and work all night. And George was editing, I think, in the day and looking at dailies, and by the end, the 2 of them didn't even blink. They were just zombies. And, we had a guy named Gino Havens, and he was our dialogue coach, because we quickly realized that it was only 1 take allowed. We were on a budget. There is no namby-pamby, warming up and getting ready for the 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th take. No, you better get it right the first time, or we're going to print it. So you quickly learn to get it right. And Gino Havens, we had him, he ran dialogue with us. If we were working, we would, that night we had to run dialogue with Gino Havens and get our lines down, because it was crucial to have it right, or else they were going to print it. And there are some mistakes where I'm like stammering, and every time I see those scenes, I'm like, oh, because I'm a perfectionist, I want it right. But in between takes, I put my arms in that sweater. Thank God I had it. And finally I got myself a pair of long johns, which were never meant to be filmed, but you see those in the movie too. And these big, baggy granny underwear. And it's just a blast. We really bonded, because actually the actors didn't get a lot of sleep, because we were staying at a Holiday Inn, and the rest of the world didn't realize there were actors that needed to rest. So they were slamming car doors and splashing in the pool. And so we were up, and I have a picture of me with a big old bottle of prune juice. And, you just got kind of all messed up in every way.